सर आवाज आ रहा है क्या मेरा सर? Am I audible? सर अनम्यूट कीजिए सर आप।
हेलो।
हाँ सर, आवाज आ रहा है क्या मेरा सर?
हेलो,
मेरी आवाज आ रही है क्या सर? हेलो
हेलो,
हेलो
हाँ आ गई आवाज। हेलो
हेलो
सर, नमस्कार।
आवाज आ रही है क्या सर मेरी?
हाँ आ रही है।
ओके।
मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
हाँ आ रही है सर। आवाज अच्छी है क्या मेरी?
या अच्छी है।
इट्स गुड ना?
यस गुड।
ओके सर।
ओके, ये वीडियो कहाँ दिख रहा है? एक पैनल वीडियो का। अच्छा यहाँ, और सर का वीडियो। अच्छा
वो सर जब बोलेंगे तब स्विच होगा सर।
अच्छा, जो बोल रहे हो उधर देखें। अच्छा
एक्टिव है।
अभी ये लाइव क्लास चालू नहीं हुआ, चल रहा है।
Good morning, Dr. Mazumdar.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Good.
Good morning. Namaskar.
Namaskar, namaskar.
Namaskar, Anupam ji.
Thank you so
Anupam ji
much.
has
Thank
joined.
you so much.
यहाँ है? हाँ, ये।
Good to see you, Dr. Pathak.
Same here, sir.
It's so interesting
Namaste.
that we are all
Yeah.
sitting back at our home and speaking to each other.
Yes. It's like a big campus now. So till now we were considering that our campus is of only 25 acre. Now our campus has grown up to like across India.
Correct.
Online campus.
Absolutely. Everything is virtual these days. So it's all the virtual campus.
Virtual campus. All the speakers have arrived.
Uh, Speakers, Amish ji is yet to join.
During inaugural session, how many are there? Anupam and
Amitabh Dixit has joined. Namaskar, Amitabh ji. Amitabh Dixit has joined. For the in this name.
Yeah, I have joined, sir.
Yeah, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaste, Anupam ji or Atish ji. I am Dr. Mazumdar.
Swati
Good
madam
morning,
has
Dr.
joined.
Mazumdar. Good morning.
A very
Dr.
good morning, sir. Good morning, Dr. Majumdar.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely. We can hear you. We can absolutely hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah, you are audible, sir.
Very good.
Hello, good morning, Muzumdar sir. Good morning, Dr. Pathak.
Good
Namaskar,
morning.
madam. Good
Mr.
morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chakravarti. Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Amish
Good morning.
ji. This is Swati Muzumdar from Pune. I'm logging
Good morning,
in from
ma'am.
Pune. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
I'm really thankful to all of you for joining in.
I think it's a fantastic lineup of programs, I must say. I think it's a very, very credible work that you guys are doing in terms of, sharing a great platform with your students who are going to have a fantastic time learning from all the, practitioners in this field.
Yes, sir. It's first of all, really thankful that you agreed. You are based in Singapore, I hear.
Sorry?
Are you based out of Singapore?
No. I'm based out of Mumbai.
You're based out of Mumbai. Okay, great. So maybe post-pandemic, we can get an opportunity to meet each other.
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
Dr. Pathak,
Yes, sir.
Amitabh Dixit and Yogesh Kumar will be joining afterwards. is it?
Yes.
They are in the second session.
Yeah, Amitabh Dixit, yeah. And Anupam ji will be delivering now inaugural address. This is then Amish Dedia. I'm trying to call him. His phone is engaged. I think he may be joining in a minute or so. Then Amitabh Dixit sir has joined, who is regional head of ICICI Bank, and Yogesh Kumar. We are waiting for him. He is general manager at IPCO Tokyo Insurance.
All of them will be speaking on inaugural session. Is it?
Yes, sir.
So in the inaugural, who all are speaking? Dr. Pathak, sir is asking.
Yeah, in the inaugural, Anupam Chakravarti ji and Amish Dedia ji, who is from PwC, India. So initial address will be by Anupam ji.
Okay. And after the inauguration, you will start with various tracks.
Yes, madam.
Okay. So you are waiting for Amish Dedia to join?
Yes, madam. I think he's calling me and he has joined with some different name, I think. I will just.
Mr. Amish, are you there? Because I'm not seeing him in the participant list.
Amishi, have you joined? Yeah, it is about to start. We have all gathered here. No, your address is at
Amishji, your address is in the inaugural, right? Dr. Pathak?
yeah, चलेगा, yeah. हाँ.
So, Dr. Pathak, we can start.
Yes, madam. Amish ji has joined, I think. I just had a call. Yeah.
Can we start?
Yes. Good morning. Suprabhat. My namaskar to all the dignitaries. Shri Anupam Chakravarti, Shri Amish Dedia, Shri Amitabh Dikshit, Shri Yogesh Kumar, Dr. Aditya Srinivas, our esteemed panelist, Mr. Mir Singh Parmar, Mr. Sushil Alewa, Dr. Shubha Anand, Dr. Priya Agrawal, experts, guests, our head of the schools, faculty, and our beloved student friends who have gathered for this one-day skills conclave on changing canvas of banking, financial services, and insurance industry post-pandemic era. I request our Honorable Chancellor Sir and our Honorable Pro-Chancellor Madam to permit us for lamp lighting and Saraswati Vandana.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Please.
कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रामृता या
उधर गए क्या? All speaking.
Clear?
वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वे
योगो ज्ञानम तथा सांख्यम विद्या शिल्पादि कर्म च वेदा शास्त्राणि विज्ञान मेतत् सर्व जनार्दनात्. This is 19th verse of Uttaranyasa of Vishnu Sahasranam, aptly describes our beloved Chancellor Sir, who is on mission as described and expected by Lord Janardana. I request Honorable Chancellor Sir to deliver welcome address.
Namaskar to all of you. Dr. Swati Majumdar, the Pro-Chancellor of the University, Dr. Charudatta Pathak, Vice Chancellor of Symbiosis University of Applied Science. They are very experienced, erudite speakers for today's conclave. Mr. Anupam Chakravarti, Mr. Amit Dedia, Mr. Amitabh Dikshit, Mr. Yogesh Kumar, staff members, students, and invited. On behalf of Symbiosis University of Applied Sciences, I extend a hearty welcome and wish this conclave a great success. Today, a very interesting and meaningful conclave is being organized by our university. And the title of this conclave is Changing Canvas of Banking, Financial Services, and Insurance Industry Post-Pandemic Era. Friends, to be very honest and frank with you, I do not know anything about either banking or financial services or insurance. And therefore, I am going to speak on a subject which is really different from the subject which you are going to deliberate. We are discussing the scenario of banking, financial services, and insurance industry post-pandemic era. But I would like to say a few words on the present pandemic, which has created havoc all over the world. Friends, this is a trying time, difficult time. Lakhs and lakhs of people are dying. Crores of people are getting infected. There are people who are dying because of short oxygen supply. People who are not getting beds in the hospital. People who are not getting vaccine. And therefore, this is a period which to many is depressing. And it is but natural that each one of us is passing through anxiety, depression, mental disorders, and whatnot. I was really pained to see one of our top officers, Mr. Dubey, who died of corona very recently. Dr. Swati had sent me 2 photographs of Mr. Dubey. In one of the photograph, I saw him during our convocation, along with dignitary. And in the second photograph, which was really touching, I saw Mr. Dubey with a small girl child. It was really, really painful to see those photographs and to realize that one of our top officers who was with us right from the beginning of university fell victim to COVID. All of us should pray that his soul they rest in peace, rest in eternal peace. But my friends, Mr. Dubey has sent and left many lessons for us. But before that, I would like to tell you that the first wave of pandemic or COVID, which started in March 2020, it mainly affected elderly people. Elderly people above 60. The second wave, which is the ongoing wave, has affected young breadwinners. And the classic example is that of Mr. Dubey, whom we lost. The second wave is very peculiar and very sad, because it is killing so many youngsters. Youngsters between 30 and 45, 50, who are working, who are breadwinners in their families. And many predict that the third COVID wave will also start very soon. And the third wave will affect children. So the first wave affected elderly. The second wave is affecting young breadwinners in the family. And the third wave is going to affect our little children. And we are facing COVID waves, and we really do not know when the COVID will end. There are predictions by scientists, there are opinions by politicians, there are innumerable articles written by experts in epidemiology. But really speaking, nobody knows. There is no medicine available so far. And the vaccines are in short supply. Added to this complexity is that those who have taken first vaccine dose are also suffering from COVID pandemic. Those who have taken even second dose are also getting affected. So we really do not know about corona, about its mutation. And therefore, the time has come for each one of us to think how I can face, I as an individual can face this pandemic, which was unknown to humanity in the history of human beings. And this is very important, ladies and gentlemen. In order to serve others, I must first survive myself. And therefore, my request to all of you is that please take care of yourself. And the only thing that you can take care of yourself is to increase your physical immunity by various types of exercises, so that your body is strong enough to resist the attack of COVID. So physical immunity is the first priority of every individual. I will also advise you to increase your emotional or mental immunity. And that mental immunity can be achieved by meditation, by yoga, and by various ways which are available to all of us at no cost. And therefore, my first request to all of you is please take care of your health, of your mind, increase your physical immunity, mental immunity. Now, having said that, I would also like to mention another thing. Corona has taught us many lessons. And therefore I call Corona as a great teacher of the century. And it has taught us many lessons, but among those lessons, 3 lessons are very, very important. One is what I say, simplicity. For all these years, for all these decades, we have been squandering our money and resources on getting things which are not really needed. Mahatma Gandhi said that nature has enough to satisfy your needs, but nature has no adequate resources to satisfy your greed. So nature has taught us, this corona has taught us, the pandemic has taught us to be as simple as possible. You don't require several pairs of shoes. You don't require several pairs of pants or shirts. This greed, this materialism, which has gripped all of us, was of no use. And Corona has taught us to lead a simple life. So simplicity is the first lesson which pandemic has taught us. What is the second lesson? The second lesson is spirituality. For all these years, my friends, we were running fast, faster and faster. There was huge rush. And one author has described the present age as age of acceleration. Everything is accelerated. We want fast food. We want to travel fast. We have no time for our family. We have no time for our children, for our parents. Now we are stuck in lockdown, and we now realize what is the value of family members. But let us go beyond that. The lockdown has also given us enough time to think about our own self. Start asking questions, who am I? What am I going to be? What is my purpose of life? How should I lead my life? And how should I be? What is the purpose of my life? And this particular lockdown period is really an opportunity for all of us to search the purpose of our life. And once you get the purpose of your life, you will realize that what is the power of purpose. The third thing, the third lesson, which COVID has taught us, is uncertainty. Everything is uncertain, ladies and gentlemen. Our ancient sayings, sages, and philosophers have been telling us, look here, my boy, everything in the world is uncertain. You do not know what will happen tomorrow. So please take care of today. Today, yesterday is the past, which has gone and which will never come back. As far as future is concerned, you do not know what will be tomorrow, what will be day after tomorrow. So future is unknown. What is in your hand is today. And today should be your day. Do whatever you can today, now, because there is uncertainty. So, Corona as a teacher has taught us simplicity in life, spirituality in life, and finally, uncertainty in life. And having said that, I must tell you that all our staff members, students, must take care of their own selves, so that if you are healthy, you will not only be happy, but you will make others happy. You will be able to help others, And that is how I want my entire staff of Symbiosis University of Applied Sciences in Indore. Especially, I will request for Vice Chancellor General to organize talks about how to face the COVID, how to face this pandemic successfully. I do not want to add. I wanted to give senior person in the university. I wanted to give small advice. I wish the conclave grand success. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our Honorable Pro-Chancellor Madam, Dr. Swati Muzumdar, to introduce our university to our esteemed guest. Over to you, Madam.
Hello.
I request our Honorable Pro-Chancellor Madam, Dr. Swati Muzumdar, to introduce our university to our esteemed guest. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Dr. Pathak, and thank you to Honorable Chancellor for the very emotional words of guidance and wisdom. And I'm sure all in the university really need this kind of guidance from our most elderly Chancellor, sir. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to introduce our university. But before that, I would, on behalf of Symbiosis, once again, I would like to welcome all the dignitaries who are present here today. Our Chancellor, respected Dr. Muzumdar, sir, our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Charudatta Pathak, our chief guest for today's function, Dr. Anupam Chakrabarti, our keynote speaker, Mr. Amish Dedia, Mr. Amitabh Dikshit, the regional head of ICICI Bank, Mr. Yogesh Kumar, general manager of IFCO Tokyo General Insurance, our esteemed panelists for today's conference, Dr. Aditya Srinivas, Chief Operating Officer, BSE, Mr. Mihir Singh Parmar, CEO of Skillspire, Mr. Sushil Aliva, Trader and Investment Advisor, Dr. Shubhra Anand, MD, Finmore Investment Advisors, and of course, our very own Dr. Navdeep Barwal, who is Director in charge for the School of BFSI. I welcome all the dignitaries, esteemed panelist members, chief guests for today's semi-conference, as well as I welcome the staff and students of Symbiosis University of Applied Sciences, Indore. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you for today's conference. But very importantly, during this pandemic, I congratulate the staff of the School of BFSI and the Vice Chancellor for organizing an important conference on a very, very relevant topic, which is facing today, especially during the pandemic. Sir, this university was established in 2016 under the Madhya Pradesh state legislation. And this university is India's first skill development university. The university was established with the objective of imparting not only knowledge, but skills which are relevant to the industry. As you are all aware that unemployment is growing amongst the educated youth, and especially post-pandemic, we are seeing that there is a dearth of jobs in the market. During such times, the importance of skill training is of great significance to all of us, and especially our students who will be passing out and entering the job market. The objective of the university is to create gainful employment and entrepreneurship opportunities by imparting skills in various high growth sectors. With this objective, the university started in 2016 with management programs, that is both BBA and MBA in the banking, financial services and insurance sector. We also started a BBA in retail management, and in the engineering sector, we have BTech degree programs in automobile engineering, mechatronics engineering, and computer science and IT. These are our important programs which are functioning very successfully for the last 5 years. In fact, 2 batches have passed out of the university in the last 2 years. I'm very happy to inform the august audience that our students have received excellent placements and opportunities of higher education in foreign universities. And the industry has really appreciated the skill training imparted by us at Indore. This university functions with a unique pedagogy. Not only do we conduct theory and practical classes, but we also conduct skill classes where skill-based activities which are based on application of theory are conducted not only by the faculty but also by the industry. The second USP of our university is that we send our students every year for 2 months internship where they get practicals, hands-on exposure. As you are all aware that in conventional universities, internships happen only in the final year. But because ours is a skill development university, we are conducting internships every year. I'm also happy to inform you that when we select faculty, we give a lot of focus and significance to the industry experience of our faculty. Take the example of Dr. Navdeep Barwal himself, who has a long banking and financial services experience. We ensure that the faculty who are selected in the university come with industry experience so that they can teach the students how the theory is exactly applied in the place of work. Above all, our focus on practical training is to the extent of 70%. 70% of the entire teaching learning happens through practicals and hands-on training. These are some of the USPs of the university, and I'm happy to share with all the panelists and the dignitaries that this experiment of skill-based education has indeed succeeded. So many of our students have started their own companies, their own small businesses. Even during COVID times, we have been able to give excellent placements. Not only that, we have also been able to give e-internships or online internships to our students. And even during COVID, we are imparting practicals online by demonstration facility. Overall, this experiment in skill-based education has not only succeeded, but appreciated at both the state and the central level. I'm sure that today's conference will be another feather in our cap because our students will get to hear from the experiences of all the learned panelists and keynote speakers and the chief guest for today's conference. It is such interventions from the industry experts like all of you, which really add value to the education that Symbiosis imparts. And I'm really thankful that despite your busy schedules, all of you have taken out time, albeit in an online mode, to participate in the conference and share your thoughts and ideas on this important topic in the BFSI sector. I am thankful to the university for arranging this conference, and I hope that the students really remember this conference with the sharing of experiences that will happen today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. So it is all because of your motivation and kind guidance, and certainly we will live up to your expectation. Thank you very much for your address. BFSI.
Okay. Okay. Good morning to our Honorable Chancellor, sir, Dr. S.B. Majumdar ji, our Honorable Pro-Chancellor, Madam Dr. Swati Majumdar ji, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Charu Datta S. Pathak ji, our speakers for the inaugural session, Mr. Anupam Chakrabarti, Head HR, Bank of America, Global Business Services, and Mr. Amish Dedia, Director, PwC India, all the dignitaries, faculty colleagues, participants, and your students. It's my privilege to extend my warm welcome to all present here for this one-day skills conclave on changing canvas of banking, financial services, and insurance industry post-pandemic era. As has been discussed by our Honorable Pro-Chancellor ma'am, that this university is basically meant for skill education, and SBFSI, that is the School of Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Management, is one of the key schools of this particular university. The objective of this school is to prepare future-ready finance professionals, primarily banking and finance professionals, so that they can go to the industry, they can fulfill the requirements which are posted by the industry. Now, if we talk about the pedagogy, as ma'am has already told, that our major focus is on 70% skills training and practical training, so that instead of theoretical portion, students know more about what they are expected to do in their job profiles, and they perform the functions accordingly. Now, if we talk about the various programs which we are having in School of Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Management, MBA is our flagship program, MBA in BFSI, and then we have BBA, and recently we have launched BCom. And very soon we have two more programs which would be very soon, covered by our school. Now, if we talk about this particular conference, the basic objective, as ma'am has told, that the basic objective of this conference was to utilize the time which right now we are having. Of course, all of us are confined to our homes because of this pandemic, and students and even the faculty members, even everyone is thinking how to utilize this time. So we thought probably this is one of the good times to make sure that our students interact with major industry stalwarts and they learn from their experiences. So based on that, we thought that let's have one-day conclave, and that is why this conclave is there. And if I talk about the broad agenda of this particular conclave, as ma'am has very rightly said, Mr. Anupam Chakrabarti, Head HR, Bank of America, Global Business Services, will give us the inaugural address. Then we'll have Mr. Amish Dedia. He's the Director of PwC India. He will be keynote speaker for this session. Then we'll have a lunch break, and after lunch, we'll have two expert sessions. Mr. Abhitab Dikshit, Regional Head with the ICICI Bank, would be delivering a lecture on the topic Future Skills Required in Banking Sector in the wake of privatization. So he would be focusing on what exactly lies ahead, what he can foresee, and what changes which our students should have as far as the skills are concerned, so that they are more employable, they are more industry ready. Then the second expert session will be from Mr. Yogesh Kumar, who is the general manager with IFCO Tokyo General Insurance Private Limited. He is basically going to talk on opportunities which are there for insurance sector post this pandemic era. Of course, we can very rightly, see that because of this pandemic era, if there are certain industries which feel that they can have some kind of a benefit or edge over other industries, this insurance is one of those. So we'll have his viewpoints, what he thinks about it, and how these opportunities can help our students to get future opportunities. Then later on, we'll have a panel discussion, 1 hour panel discussion. The topic would be recent reforms in capital market by SEBI. So in the last 1 year, a lot of reforms have been has been put in by SEBI in order to make sure that the stock markets, they behave in a rational manner. And we are looking forward for this kind of, you can say, discussion. Unfortunately, Dr. Aditya Srinivas, who was supposed to head this particular panel discussion, his son got COVID yesterday itself. He called me late in the night that he is suffering from COVID, and unfortunately he will not be available. So these are the, one of the key issues right now we are facing. Anyhow, still we have Dr. Shubhra Anand, MD Fenmore Investment Advisors. We have Mr. Mihir Singh Parmar. He is CEO of Skillspire, again a company which deals with the developing skills. Then we have Mr. Sushil Aleva. He is a trader and investment advisor. He's a certified SEBI trainer also. And then after the tea break, we'll have one more session. We'll have workshop on stock trading for our students. Dr. Priya Agarwal, who is a senior consultant and social entrepreneur, who used to take a lot of sessions for BSc, will be taking workshop on stock trading for our students. And in the final ceremony, we'll have concluding ceremony where we'll have concluding remarks by our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir and vote of thanks. So that is how we have planned this particular conference overall. Now, with your permission, if you, ma'am, allow us, we would like to start with our inaugural address.
Please. Please go ahead.
Okay. I think,
am I audible?
Chancellor Sir, with your permission, can we start?
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Dr. Nadeep, am I audible? Dr. Pathak, am I audible?
You're audible, sir. Mr. Anupam, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning to all of you. And I know all of you are facing severe, challenging times. And thank you so much, Dr. Mazumdar, for your inspiring speech. Madam Mazumdar as well, Dr. Pathak, Dr. Navdeep. I'm really honored to be a part of this meeting today. My name is Anupam, and I work for a great global company called Bank of America. I think the brand itself has a fairly it's a fairly known bank in the global arena with operations with more than 65 countries in the world. And I have had the opportunity to work here for the past 14 years. A very, very evolved and culturally deep organization, I must say. And I'm very, very happy to know that I think we have done an exceedingly good job in terms of managing through these critical times of the pandemic. I know it's hit us since the past year. And it has not been easy for many of our employees, 20,000 employees all over India. But somehow we have been extremely fortunate to be able to transition most of them home. And we've been very successful, in terms of really having them work from home itself. So I think it's been a fantastic experience so far. nobody realized that the pandemic came in, it changed our lives, and finally we have kind of almost bought into the new normal. So I think that's where we are today. And I really thank your institute for organizing a fantastic lineup of sessions today. Discussing what the future in the banking industry will really look like. Some very senior subject matter experts will be sharing a point of view on various themes today. And I'm very, very happy to be a part of the session. So what I'm going to share with the students, especially the students today, is more around the larger context. I don't think I have the wherewithal to recommend the specific skilling that any of them would really like to take in some of the specific areas. It's a fairly vast area of knowledge, but what I'm going to share today is more of what is the deeper context in this environment. So I'll start with a quote by Pere Nentame, who was the CEO of Accenture till a few years back, and he said that digital is the main reason why half of the companies on Fortune 500 have disappeared since 2000. And I think we have absolutely seen that happening. Of course, today we know it's not just digital. I think there are several different other influences, including our focus on hyper-personalized customer experiences, increasing globalization, the changing demographics which are coming into our workforce. I think all of them are having massive impact on the way we really kind of look at future. Of course, nobody has a crystal ball to really say what the future will look like, but the whole attempt here is to really put a step in that direction, see what we can visualize, and really plan for that. So before that, let me share a quick story from my early professional life when I joined the industry somewhere in early mid-90s, when computers had just entered the workforce. And I still recollect that day when our payroll software, through which I was processing the payrolls for my, for my organization, that crashed. And we had to do our income tax calculations. We had to do a whole lot of other things. So what do we do? And it may sound very bizarre, but the confidence on things like your Excel sheets and all that was not really great those days. And I really took out those big, kind of sheets, which is, I know some of you who have not been in that era may not really recognize this, but we used to have those, big sheets where it used to be kind of be like graph sheets or grid sheets, what you may call it. And I used simple calculator to calculate income tax. I know it will sound very, very bizarre to many of you, especially to people who've not seen those types. I can also tell you about various other similar experiences. We used to have stenotypists. I don't know if you've heard these kind of terms, but people who used to, especially, move around the functions with dictaphones. I don't know, dictaphones are most likely gone these days, but they used to record some of the messages from the, from some of the senior leaders, and make out drafts of those messages and send across to customers. We used to use things like a fax or a telex to really transmit formal data. So those used to be the times. So it's very, very bizarre times. I don't know how many of you are really feeling, oh my God. So that used to be those times. And I of course recollect maybe very recently, a couple of years back, when I gave away my DVD player, which I had for some time. Frankly, I never didn't really need them, because I had already disposed more than 50% of my DVDs, and DVDs are anyway kind of gone. So what I'm trying to say here is it's the same degree of change that we are witnessing in the workplace. It's the same momentum with which the change is really hitting us. And I know many of you may join the workforce at in a very varied way. Some of you may possibly feel that you have kind of joined an organization which is feeling like giving like a sci-fi movie experience, versus the others that you will see organizations that are kind of evolving in their journeys. I think, however, the key questions remains, what are some of the real key drivers to some of these changes? And I think all of we are possibly witnessing it in our real lives. I think the world is no longer an isolated place. I think we have realized it especially during these times of pandemic, when you are possibly accessing all your social media and all that to really see what's really happening across the world. Internet has opened up a huge possibility for many. I see a lot of online entrepreneurs these days with so many offerings, and you can see so many ads coming up in either your Facebooks or WhatsApp. So I think it's a hugely connected world today, which was not there maybe 10 years back. Information availability is at your fingertips. Data democracy is given. So everybody has pretty much the same data that you have today. What's also been happening in the past several years is a bit of a global thinking. Most of the businesses have gone past their national boundaries, and they have started looking at businesses as really global businesses which are not just operating from a particular geography, but businesses which are thinking more globally, trying to figure out what are some of the pieces that we can really accommodate from each of the regions, and be able to make certain consistent decisions out of some of our practices. So I think a global thinking has definitely been coming in. We have seen, of course, a lot of global sourcing. While China may be called as the large global manufacturing hub, India is slowly getting its name as a global sourcing destination for services, and we have seen a huge upsurge in global services in the recent times, almost double-digit increases till so many years back. Of course, these days, because of all the pandemic, everything, I think things have slowed down a bit, but global sourcing definitely is a huge trend. One of the interesting things that we're witnessing globally, and I'm sure some of these trends are also seeping into some of our industries here in India as well, but very sharp focus on customer needs. And when I'm saying customer needs, especially in the space of banking, the focus seemingly is not just on selling something to a customer and kind of be done with it. It's not about just selling to a customer. I think the services are becoming hyper personalized. You're wanting to make your services accessible to your customers round the clock, all the time, all across the world. So I think it's a huge trend in terms of hyper personalization, and I think we will slowly see a lot of use of technology, especially artificial intelligence and the likes, which will start calling out very nuanced trends of how customer behaves, and that will open up a lot of opportunities of how do you really cross-sell, upsell with your customers. So very interesting trends, and I think we will continue to see this trend going forward. Of course, we've talked about the digital, the technology, and I think today, simply because technology is aiding a lot of it. I think there is tremendous amount of possibility that we really see in the future. Most organizations globally have kind of committed significant budgets to be able to not just reskill some of their employees, but they are putting in a lot of effort in changing some of their platforms, be it either for their customers or even for their employees. I'm seeing, especially since I'm in human resources, I'm seeing a lot of interesting platforms that are coming in, which are kind of trying to connect all of this together to be able to give a seamless experience to our employees, to help our employees connect together, to help our employees bridge gaps, to help our employees take up, different projects and gig work, which was otherwise not really possible because you don't have a connected platform. So very, very interesting use of technology is what is definitely coming in. We can see a huge amount of use cases in those areas. And, I think a lot will depend on imagination of people. A lot will depend upon how we visualize and visage, some of these trends and, kind of leverage some of these technologies to be able to give us a very, very cutting edge for many organizations. I know most of you are aware of what really happened in 2008, 2009. The financial services debacle brought in a significant change. While on one hand, COVID is seen as one of the black swans, but if you go back a few years back in 2008, 2009, that was another stage of change for the industry. And that was what? That was the financial debacle which really happened. And that created a single most window of change for the financial services, especially in the area of risk. How do you look at all different kinds of risk, be it operational risk, credit risk, market risk, liquidity risk? Tremendous focus came in on the risk. And especially for our bank, we have been working very, very closely with some of the US regulators, or even some of the, the local regulators in our countries as well. I think the focus on, risk is going to continue. Focus on data privacy is absolutely real. We have seen many countries coming up with laws, including, including India. GDPR has been one of the early ones. Cybersecurity is one of the big challenge for most companies. So I think that's again a huge area of change that is really coming in. So I just wanted to kind of make sure that you really understand the broader context of these changes. What's also happening, on the ground is, most of the organizations are really wanting to move up the value chain. So what many of these offshoring services brought in maybe a decade back, pretty much if you ask most of them, they would say that, some of their businesses which they had maybe 10 years back no longer exist today, because they have moved out of some of those businesses. Some of them have gone back, some of them have gone to maybe geographies which are doing some of those kind of commodity kind of work, I would say. But a huge focus on how do you move up the value chain, not just keep on doing the same work day in and day out, because a lot of it can be done by computers today. So I think we are continuously seeing a significant work going on in automation of some of our repeatable processes, things that can be repeated, things that can be done in a very, very extremely seamless way. Some of this can be absolutely automated. So we're clearly seeing that trend coming up. The other interesting mix in this entire basket is of course the fintech. The fintechs have been known for coming up with some of the new age thinking. They are the ones who are bringing in some of the innovative platforms in place, which are transforming many of our banking as well as non-banking areas. A great focus, of course, is in payments these days, because that's where we see a lot of opportunities coming in. Cryptocurrencies is again one of the other pieces which, while there has been a bit of a a kind of a, I would say, an iffiness by most of the governments in recognizing cryptocurrencies, but that is at least pushing us in terms of thinking ahead. The need for regulatory interventions, regulatory reforms, I think continues. I think some of that will keep on continuing because of all the nuances in such complex businesses. And I think last but not the least, these kind of times, that we have seen like COVID, that would prove to be a game changer for some of these industries. So I think that's pretty much the broader context around which we can operate. We are operating today. I think I can go on and on. I think there are several different influences. I think if you ask each one of us, I think we would know of things which are changing our workplace, changing our work, changing our way how we look at some of our business today. So in short, what we term as the VUCA world, I think the only difference is the pace of change. The pace of change today is what we have never witnessed before. So I think you can really realize what most of the organizations really going through. So as students, as you go through this journey, I think many of you would have different kinds of experiences, unless of course some of you choose to be in the entrepreneurial space. You'll see different nuances, some of these changes in your workplace. And I think some of your experiences will be definitely shaped by some of these factors that I've really talked about. So I will possibly really talk about some of the key changes which we have already started seeing. Of course, technology is something that is definitely on the charts. That's the biggest change that we really see. In terms of the very significant investments by most organizations, either in terms of very simple automation or use of bots, or at times completely changing a technology for a particular sector or a workflow. And I think that is something that you will definitely see once you join organizations and once you see how some of these changes are really impacting. The other big change that is happening is the global socio-economic scenario, and I think that will mean a lot of changes in the postures of postures in different countries, the relations between different countries, and of course that will bring in an additional nuance in terms of some of the stronger regulations that some of the countries would really like to place, in terms of how to manage some of these complexities going forward. So many of you may see at times, because of some of these introductions of either technology, changes in the regulation, you will see certain redundancies happening. You'll see new jobs coming in. So all that will be very normal. So what I'm trying to tell you is, be prepared for this change. When you join any organization, be prepared that you will see some of these changes happening. Technology will be changing. You will see redundancies happening. You will see new jobs coming in. So all that is a part of the entire mix. We have also seen, and again, what I'm sharing is purely based on my own experiences. Most organizations will have to look at newer operating models. In order to really adjust to some of these changes, they'll have to redesign the way that they really operate today. And I can give you some quick examples of some of the pieces that we are witnessing as an organization. So clearly on one side, while we have very dedicated specialized teams working on either operations or technology, we are also wanting to look at what are some of those shareable, scalable, and horizontal services that can provide a lot of efficiency. So we actually have created a separate operating model to look at this entire shareability, which is, we call it the shareable space. So a lot of those business model changes is what you'll see, and I think not necessarily it will all be the same. It will pretty much be depending upon what the context is. But I can tell you for sure, you'll see many of those business model changes coming in as a part of some of the change that is brought in by the environment. The other interesting piece that I would want to possibly leave with some of the students out here is that, till few years back, we all had our jobs, which was like 100% a BAU job. And we used to be, given out very clear job responsibilities, very clear outline of what we are supposed to do. Now all that is really changing. I have not seen a job description for the last several years, at least for my role. And I'm sure a lot is happening for many others as well, where job descriptions in itself is kind of becoming redundant, because you will be required to do a whole lot of different things while you're doing your own job. So be prepared for almost like a 50-50, if not more, a 50% BAU and a 50% things which are non-BAU, things which are to do with managing change, things which will mean that you'll have to work with several different cross-functional teams, across the organization. I think that's a very, very key change that we are seeing, at least in organizations like ours. And most people who are not, kind of not really very, attuned to some of these kind of, changes, obviously they come back and say, hey, I'm supposed to do this, but I'm now being told to do that. So I think, those are the conflicts, those are the dilemmas which people will have. But I'm telling you upfront that this is just going to happen. This is going to happen, that you'll have to spend a lot of your time on not just managing BAU, but managing change. And that will also include identifying opportunities of business, identifying opportunities of process innovations in your company, and really helping the organization move up to the next levels of echelons of growth and sustenance. The other interesting piece which I want to possibly again leave with you today is that especially because of COVID, the definition of workplace is completely changing. At least in an organization like ours, we always believe that we want to always have employees co-located. But the pandemic came in, and we pretty much had to have almost like 100% of our employees sitting back at home and working. And if we look at some of the analysts, what they're saying, many of them are saying that even after the pandemic ends, even after we have a lot of stability, there could be possibly about maybe 30% of the roles which will still continue to work BAU from home. So what does it really mean? It really means that your workplace will be defined by you. Your workplace will be you along with maybe one connected gadget. It could be either your laptop or your smartphone, whatever it is. So I think it'll be extremely important for you, for many of you who may see this situation where for example, I have a colleague of mine who has been here with me since past more than a year now. And she had just joined in when the pandemic hit us, and she was not able to see the office premises at all. And that is the same situation for almost like 1,000 of our employees that we would have hired in the past 1 year. So I think for many of you, you may see a situation if the pandemic continues the way it is, or the organizations are still not willing to have all the employees back to work, you will be required to work out of your home virtually. And what it means is a huge effort on your part in terms of virtual collaboration, in terms of your making sure that you're connecting well, making sure that you're able to really work alongside some of the intelligence systems that the organization is really putting in place. So very interesting development. I think we'll continue to see a lot of this going forward, but the definition of workplace is going to be a key thing that we are going to really see going forward. Similarly, we are also seeing a lot of changes in what we mean by our workforce. The workforce of yesterday, especially in geographies like India, mostly used to rely a lot on on either a direct employee or certain contractual workforce which was meant to do some of your staff support activities. With this pandemic, there is definitely a lot of interest to see, can we get some work done by some of the gig workers. And with the BAU work from home that we're seeing, a lot of that confidence is really coming. The government has, of course, come up with regulations, with like, things like fixed term contracts and stuff like that. So we are going to see all that changes. Not necessarily many of the heavily regulated industries will adopt it, but I'm sure a lot of that will happen for many of the industries, which may think that they will be able to really, not invest in a permanent workforce, for a longish period of time, but are willing to get some of the work done by this flexible workforce, which are kind of safe enough. So the workforce will be defined by such kind of people as well. And lastly, one of the other interesting trends I will kind of leave with you. Of course, there is a lot, but one of the interesting trends that we are seeing today is workforce diversity. Now, workforce diversity is something that has been a focus area for most organizations in the recent days. And today we see a workforce which is like a mix of several different kinds of people from not just different genders, but people from multiple origins of different countries sitting together, specially abled, senior citizens or veterans. A lot of that will constitute a workforce. And of course, now the Gen Zs are also getting into the workforce. So one of the important pieces that I would like to leave with you is that it will be an extremely diverse workforce that you're going to deal with. So the piece that will be required from you is really being inclusive and ensuring that you have the right ear to listen to the entire breadth of the organization. And you'll have to work with teams which will contain of people at my age and the Gen Zs which are coming into the organization. So I think these are some of the broad thoughts which I thought will be helpful for all of you to really keep in mind. Now, of course, not all of them will be so much applicable to some of the organizations that you join, but I'm sure many of these important nuances is something that you will really start witnessing once you join a workplace. And I think today we are seeing really the dynamics of all of it playing out in our workforces. But what is important is that how do we deal with some of these dynamics? So what I'm going to share with you is 15 different. I would not call them soft skills, but I would call them life skills that are going to be important for you going forward, given some of the context that I really spoke to you about. Now, what are some of those life skills? I think the number one life skill that I would want to leave with you, and is same is applicable for all of us. I can say for myself as well, is a continuous multidisciplinary learning. And that's going to define your continuous growth in the organization, a continuous process of evolution, development. If you don't put your efforts in a continuous learning process, I can tell you for sure that the world will move on and you will possibly lose out on a lot of opportunities. I myself continuously learning. I just recently completed a course in artificial intelligence just to get me kind of in tune with what are the several opportunities, what are the several use cases. So a continuous multidisciplinary learning is going to be very, very key to your success going forward, because the skills will change. The second thing which is going to be very important, and especially this is very important for people who are not in the technology background. Some of you who come from the technology background, of course, will continue to be in this area. But people who are not in the technology background, please focus on getting a digital mindset. Now, when I'm saying a digital mindset, I'm here referring to not learning coding, but really understanding the nuances of some of the technologies which are kind of investing our workplaces, which are getting completely intertwined into what we do every day. And that is what will make you somebody who will be able to be enterprising, come up with a lot of new ideas, a lot of new thoughts. And that will really help the organization to figure out what are some of the new ways of doing things. So a digital mindset is extremely important. I cannot harp more. I'm seeing a lot of that, change happening in the organizations. And of course, you may see it in, several different levels, depending upon the kind of organization that you join in. But for sure, this is something that will going to be very important going forward. The third thing which I'm going to leave with you, and which Dr. Mazumdar aptly talked about, is something called mindfulness. What really is mindfulness, and why is mindfulness so important for the change going forward? Mindfulness is nothing but is an active, conscious thinking process. And when I'm saying that, it really means that at any point of time when we do something, or when we are interacting something, our mind keeps on playing a lot of tricks, a lot of rackets. How do you continuously be conscious of what your thoughts are, what your emotions are, what your feelings are? And I think that would really define as to how you're appropriately responding to a particular situation, or or an issue that is in front of you. And Dr. Mazumdar talked about one of the great ways to develop mindfulness is meditation. So very important, given the dynamics of the changes that are coming in, that you work on mindfulness. And I think I can tell you for sure that is going to give you absolutely tremendous benefits going forward. The fourth thing which I'm going to leave with you is professional intellectual curiosity. Now, we all will possibly be required to do something in a particular area of work. But I can tell you for sure that whatever you do today is not operating in a particular island. It's all of it's really interconnected. So if you don't develop professional curiosity of what's really happening around, how things are really interconnected, you'll completely miss out on the context. So professional intellectual curiosity will be extremely important as you work on your daily lives in a workplace. The fifth skill, the life skill that I would really harp upon, especially given the future that we are seeing, and of course, we are still not crystal gazing. Whatever the hype was, possibly will play on in a few years from time, recent time, if not now. But very importantly, innovation, creativity is going to have very key role, because of the fact that it is now and from here on that the human intellect will be regarded most important. Because what will happen is many of the repeatable tasks, many of the things that we do today as like commodity work, that will all go away, because it all has the propensity to really get automated. So what will be left behind is, how do you innovate? How do you create more opportunities? How do you really create a legacy for the organization, which is like a continuous growing, organization. So it will be very important that you work on, building a creative mind, building a mindset of innovation. The sixth skill, or the sixth life skill that I would really want to leave you with, which is even important today, but will grow, will be more prominent going forward, will be how do you tell your story. I don't know if you have seen some of the recent ads by many organizations. I'm forgetting some of them, but I recently saw a few ads where they are asking for storytellers. They're hiring storytellers. I think it's Google or some one of these IT organizations which is really hiring storytellers. So why do you think storytelling is becoming so important? The storytelling is becoming very important because we are not in a static time. Understand that we are going through tremendous amount of change. And if you have to really articulate some of these changes, if you have to really say that these are some of the solutions that will work in order to address some of these changes, great storytelling will be the need of the day. So my advice to some of you will be to really work on your storytelling. How do you really tell very powerful stories? And I think when I'm saying storytelling, don't understand me as writing stories or whatever it is. When I'm trying to tell stories, is that what are some of your key messages? Some of the messages need to be short. Not necessarily storytelling has to be always like a complete dossier, but these have to be very powerful messages that you leave with your audiences. I think that would be very important. I still recollect a few years back, when we had one of our senior leaders who was visiting us from our US office, and he was meeting some of the other local leaders here, and were kind of going through some presentation. And we had our session with that leader, post that. And he came in and he was seemingly very, very frustrated. And he said that, look, I just don't understand why people don't understand brevity. Why don't they understand that people like me don't have more than 15 minutes to give them? So they have to articulate to me the right message, the right appropriate message. So I think it's very important that all of your leaders will really expect that they are told the absolute right, correct message. So please work on your storytelling is what my advice is. The seventh life skill that I'm going to leave with you is is agility. I think agility in everything. When I'm saying agility, I'm not just talking about agility in a particular area. Agility in thinking, agility in acting, agility in behaving. And I think many of you who are from the technology background, I think would know that till about few years back, most of the industry still was working on a typical linear waterfall model of software development. Now that is all changing. That has all changed for many organizations, which have moved to really the agile way of developing software applications. So what it means is you cannot afford to have a long drawn, a kind of a linear process of getting to an end outcome. You have to continuously work on smaller outcomes, keep on changing that, review that based on some of the new information which is coming in. You have to keep your thinking process as agile as possible. The eighth life skill which I'm going to leave with you is empathy. And when I'm saying empathy, it's extremely important skill today, because your workforce is not the same as what we experienced maybe 10 years back or 15 years back. Your workforce today is absolutely very, very diverse. So if you don't develop empathy, you will absolutely not get the point of many of the people that you really work with. So for a very inclusive workplace, empathy is the key. And when I'm saying empathy, I'm not kind of relating it to sympathy. When I'm saying empathy, really is understanding somebody's point of view, understanding where they're really coming from, understanding the underlying message which some of the people are really sharing with you. So empathy is going to be key for a very inclusive workplace. The ninth skills which I'm going to leave with you, and which I've also discussed earlier as well, is going to be an analytical and a risk mindset, especially very important for banking, financial services kind of a setup. All of you will be required to think risk. Most of our businesses have risk. Of course, it doesn't really mean that you should start working. I don't think a risk is important. Taking risk is important for most of the businesses. But the focus is, how do you really understand the risk? How do you really qualify the risk? How do you really call out the risk, debate it, get a feel as to, do you need to have some controls to really manage some of the situations? So I think that's going to be extremely important. Not just in financial services industry. I think risk as a theme will be also important for many other industries as well. So an analytical and a risk mindset will be very, very important for you. The 10th ability, or the 10th skill which I'm going to leave with you, which will be very, very important for you going forward, is the ability to collaborate. As I just said a few minutes back, that most of your jobs will entail a lot of different projects, a lot of different kinds of assignments. At times you'll be loaned to even, we have seen people getting temporarily loaned to a particular function or a department. So an ability to collaborate will be very, very important. So if you don't know how to work with different teams, I think that's where you're going to face challenges. So, I think reflect on it, figure out what are some of the important ways where you bring in the skills of how do you really collaborate with people. I think that would be very, very key going forward. Getting used to virtual delivery is the next one, which I'm going to be harping upon, because I don't think we can stay away from virtual. Most of our learning programs today has become virtual. I think the classroom trainings are gone. Most of your learnings will be now on your mobiles. I think you're already seeing it, the micro learning and stuff like that. There will be lots of newer development in terms of delivering many of these services really online. So developing a virtual mindset of delivery will be very, very important for most of you, if not all, but at least most of you. Knowing the pulse of the organization, knowing what's going on, connecting the dots will be very, very key going forward. As I said earlier as well, that none of us really operate out of islands. The workplace is an extremely connected place. So if you don't understand how to connect the dots, that is somewhere that you'll feel some of the challenges coming into your work area. So that's another area that I would really want you to focus on, and that would also mean a lot of networking. When I'm saying networking, it is not networking just externally, but networking internally as well. Control of your own self and self-motivation is going to be important, because the kind of jobs that we are going to see going forward will mean your supervisors and bosses will start playing a very different kind of a role. Many of them will just become mentors, less preachy. For example, I see at least my job, a lot less preachy, but a lot less supervision, but more mentoring and helping people to really grow in their careers. So I think that's the other interesting thing that you possibly want to really start working on. Keeping an open mind will be very, very important. And I think one of the other last skill that I would love to leave with you is, you would be really facing a global world. So very important that you understand how to learn with, interacting with diverse cultures globally. Very, very important skill that I would really urge you to start thinking on. So these are some of the 15 skills that I thought, possibly I would leave with you. And I'm sure some of these will be very helpful going forward. Hope this is of help to you, and I really wish you the best in your careers. And the times will be very trying going forward. The times will be very dynamic, but I'm sure with all the help from your institute, your faculties, I think it'll all be very seamless for you. So don't worry about what the future really lies for you. I can see clearly a growth that will be anticipated post this pandemic, and we will continue to have great employments. So thank you so much, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Anupam ji. This is Dr. Swati. Not only were your tips on the technical skills extremely important and significant for all our students, but I was especially amazed to hear you speak about the other skills which are equally important for students, such as the life coping skills and the other important skill you talked about, mindfulness and empathy. I agree with you. These are so very important for students to develop. And sir, I'm happy to share with you that we have established a Department of Interdisciplinary Sciences at this university, where we try to impart life coping skills, which range from communication skills, soft skills, interviewing skills, to all these that you just said, including yoga and meditation, mindfulness, as you so rightly put it. I'm so thankful, and I hope that our students can really follow on the footsteps that you have shown and directed them towards. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Anupam. Actually, we have received a lot of questions. Just to tell you that we are live on Facebook or on YouTube also. Our students are actually there. And we have around 30 plus questions
Oh my God.
And we have around, you can see, I think 7-8 questions on Zoom itself. So I don't know how many to ask from you, but quickly we'll just ask 1 or 2 from you.
Sure. So what we can do is, I know, in the interest of time, since there are other panel members who are going to be there for this, I can take up maybe a couple of questions, depending upon time, a few of them. And rest of them,
Yes.
maybe you can email it to me, and I'll be more than happy to either draft my response and send across, or if a few of them want to really connect after, really talk to some of them.
So, Dr. Navdeep, we can just take maybe say 6-7 questions and
Okay.
keep a time limit of say 10 minutes. So within that, whatever sir can answer, and the remaining you can email to me. Your voice is also echoing a lot, Dr. Navdeep. So just wanted to inform you.
I hope now it's fine.
Yeah, little better, but there is an echo. There is an echo. So you may wish to request your IT to just look at it. Or maybe Dr. Pathak can address the questions because there's a lot of echo.
Okay, so I hope now it's fine.
Yes, sir. Now it's better. Now it's better.
Okay, no problem. So, Anupam sir, one first question would be, how can banks increase digital access and digital literacy post-pandemic so that pressure on branches could reduce? This question is sent by our BBA second year student, Raman Sharma.
So look, I am, not completely conversant with some of the retail environment, because I am from the,
Corporate office.
I'm from the offshoring industry. But I'm sure there are interesting observations that some of your other panelists will be able to share in terms of what some of the solutions are. But I'm sure, as I said, the technology will be a great player in this. I think you will see a lot of solutions in this area as well. So maybe I think what you could do is refer this question to one of your panelists who's going to be covering some of this topic, which is more around the retail branch kind of operations.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Another question, this is from one of our MBA students. Will new information technologies change financial risk management processes? What do you feel about this? With the help of technology, change in financial risk management.
Yeah, I think financial risk management is a very, very important, ball game today. And most organizations have not just put in teams which look at certain operational risk areas. I think most banking organizations would have an operational risk teams, but there are certain specialized teams also coming in. For example, many banks today have something called a model risk management team, where the focus is to really look at financial models and the risk arising out of some of the financial models. There are teams which are focusing on technology risk, because the technology that you're introducing in the organization could carry certain risk. So there are a lot of assessments that really happen within the organizations to really figure out what are some of the new risks which are getting introduced either by coming up with a new product, a new model, or a new technology. So I think it will be very, very important for most organizations to keep on focusing. Especially, I think many of you have seen the debates on artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is known to create bias, is known to possibly introduce a lot more risk than what it is serving. So I think a huge amount of debate in this area is already happening. I don't know if anybody has all the perfect answers, but I think most organizations do have a focus in this area to really look at financial models, the newer technologies that are going to be introduced, what kind of risk it is kind of introducing within the organization.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer, sir. So one more question, which will be from HR domain itself. This question has come from, again, one of our MBA students. What are some easy techniques to acquire empathy as a skill? So you talked about empathy. So students want, what are the easy techniques so that they can develop this?
So I think I would say, again, there are, one is, of course, an organization-led kind of initiative. For example, organization like ours, we carry out a lot of trainings which are to do with, biases. How do you ensure that, you kind of keep a tab on some of the biases that you are, that you're interacting, that you're kind of introducing in some of your interactions. So I think an understanding of some of the biases will be very, very helpful. And then what Dr. Mazumdar also talked about in terms of, meditation and getting into mindfulness, actively understanding what your mind is really thinking and behaving, and what kind of triggers the mind is giving will be very, very important in terms of building empathy. And the third thing is, practicing active listening. I think one of the things that we often do is we often talk to someone, but our mind is somewhere else. So we are not doing a great justice to the conversation. So I think an active listening will be very important, where we really focus on what the other person is really talking about, where they're coming from. So I think that focus on active listening will be very, very important.
Okay, sir. So probably one last question. On the topic of newer operating models, which we just talked about, is work from home a possible option to switch operations to in future? How does it rank in terms of productivity?
I think some of the experiences is very new, and I don't think we have a kind of a consistent kind of a advice on that. I think there are several reports. Some reports initially, when we looked at some of the initial point of view from many of the large consulting organizations, I think they did say that, I think there has not been a big issue in terms of managing operations working from home. However, we did see a bit of a other side of the story as well, sometime late last year, early this year as well. So I think the jury is yet out in terms of what really works. But most organizations have realized that it will not be a simple story to say, hey, just have 50% of your workforce working from home and be done with it, because there are several challenges. I think people working from home is not an easy bargain anyway. We had to all get used to our schedule at home. We had to learn to work with the existing infrastructure, the technology challenges. So I think, plus of course, one of the important pieces which has already been an agenda of debate is the risk which we live with, where some of the information, customer information, is out there with many of our people in their homes. So it will never have an easy answer. At least the organization that I work with has a view in terms of wanting to have many of these work done from our offices, given many of the different kinds of, not just the risk, but the importance of collaboration and stuff like that. But I think the world will figure out, most organizations will figure out as to what jobs they feel can most likely be operated from home. But yet, yeah, I think that these are those interesting times where I think nobody has an answer, but we are all trying to look for one.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. It was really a wonderful session wherein I hope students would have added a lot of value. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, all the faculty, Dr. Mazumdar. I will want to take a leave. I'll have to get into another meeting soon. I've loved interacting with the senior faculties, the students, and very happy to share some of my thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Definitely, sir. Very soon, probably once this pandemic gets over, probably we would be able to maybe interact with our students later on, maybe through online mode itself.
Yep.
Because I mean, if you happen to come to Indore, probably we'll have your, live discussion. But it's okay. Otherwise, virtual interaction is always possible. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Now, now I would like to introduce our second, you can say, panelist who would be interacting with us, Mr. Amish Dedia. He had,
Hello.
yeah, he has rich experience of investment banking. Just to introduce about, just to have a small introduction about him, he has been with Yes Bank as Vice President, Investment Banking for 8 years. And now, of course, as you know, he is with PricewaterhouseCoopers as Director India. And he was also investment analyst with McKinsey and Company. He's, by the way, an alumni of I am Indore. So this we are proud that he's again from our own city. At least he has taken, I mean, graduated from one of the prominent places in our Indore. And his core areas, of course, are investment banking, financial modeling, and corporate finance. Now, I would like to invite Amish sir, your thoughts, and probably, like you said, you would like to have a few of the questions, and we are ready with the questions also. But before that, brief introduction about yourself, or something you wish to.
Excellent. Yeah. So thank you very much, Dr. Majumdar, Swati ma'am, and both of you sirs, to give me the chance to speak. It was interesting that we had connected from the theme of my corporate life, which is mergers and acquisitions. That's where the introduction happened with Dr. Swati over LinkedIn, and that's how I think this interaction has got its own genesis. So really appreciate Chardatta, Mr. Navdi, and Madam and Sir, Dr. Majumdar, your kind self to allow me to take a chance to speak with a lovely audience today. And it feels home to hear about Indore, because 2 of the best years of my life were spent in Indore during my MBA. So certainly very good memories, and I would have wished, had the pandemic not been there, I would have certainly come down and relish the poha and many other delicacies with the students, in a lunch session or snack session after this discussion. So really appreciate. Thanks again. I think the previous speaker also did a fantastic job. I think the kind of insights he has shared today were really, really, meaningful. You would not get such insider insights from anybody in your life, because these were what Sir said was, real life situations of how a professional has to operate and grow in his own professional journey. So very, very notable, and I think thanks to the institute to have such renowned speaker coming in and discussing on a relevant topic. From my side, I have few slides prepared to speak about investment banking as a domain. Just to get a view, sir, Mr. Navdeep, or Dr. Navdeep, what is the kind of audience we have today? What are the kind of students? What are the profiles? Just to show, a more meaningful way to interact with the audience today. Happy to hear their backgrounds. Have they been doing some kind of M&A, merger acquisition work, or studies, or projects? So just to happy to hear. And what's the kind of audience we have today?
Yeah, Amish sir, actually right now the core audiences are MBA finance students, are BBA,
Good.
BFSI and BCom students. And
Very
apart
good.
from that, of course, we have some invited guests who are there. And of course, you can talk about mergers and acquisitions or investment banking, because all of the students are well, acquainted as far as financial terms are concerned. So I
Sure.
think you can go ahead with your PPT, no problem.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Once again, I will share my screen. Can you allow me to share screen, please? Yeah. Yeah, you need to provide access, sir. Yeah. Yeah, got it. Let me know once my slide is visible. Hello.
It is visible, sir. You can go ahead.
Excellent. Thanks. So, just to introduce myself, I'm a person born and brought up in Bombay. My first stint was with a company called McKinsey and Company, which is one of the world's largest consulting firm. I worked in Gurgaon, then of course 2 years at Indore, then 8 years with Yes Bank, and last 5 to 6 years with PwC. The entire journey post MBA has been in the domain of investment banking. And what I would want to do is take you through some of the nuances of what investment banking is, what's happening in real life, what are the different types of transactions that are required, what is the skill set that is required to be a banker, investment banker, and what is a typical career path, some of the potential employers, and what you need to do. These are few things. I would be happy to take a pause, take answers to questions. Yeah. So I will maybe possibly start, with a small example of Flipkart. I'm sure everybody has heard about it, and most of you would be using it as well. And as they call it today, it's a unicorn, right? Anything post, valuation of $1 billion is called a unicorn today. So how would a banker see this, journey? What I see in Flipkart, people will see many things, but what my eye will look at is that in the last, 8 to 10 years, what has he done? He raised $150 million of capital, which is private equity. So I've done a green and orange marking of the core work that happens in an investment banking life: private equity fundraise and mergers and acquisitions. In July 13, just about immediately after a year, he raised $360 million. After that, he acquired Mintra for $285 million. Then he raised another $210 million from Tiger. Then $1 billion. I mean, $1 billion today would be 7.5 thousand crore rupees. Okay, and look at the pace. Within July to November, not even 6 months, and he's raising another 700 million. From there, within a year's time, another 6 months, he's raising $700 million. Then again, he does a small acquisition, which has become a big name today, called PhonePe. Then he raises $3.9 billion from SoftBank. And finally, the company gets acquired for $16 billion. In those days, at the exchange rate of, let's say, 60 bucks, this was close to 1 lakh crore valuation. Each of the founder was, by the end of it, holding 6% stake each, the two founders, the two Bansals, right? Can you imagine the kind of money they made when they sold this company? 1 lakh crore valuation and 6% stake. So each guy got 6,000 crores to take home, right? So this is what we do in investment banking. Our focus is to help companies in raising capital and in undertaking M&A. Yeah. So what is the M&A activity and the other activities that happen? This is a little dated chart, but just to show that this country is witnessing tremendous activity. Billions of dollars worth of transactions are happening every year, be it in M&A, be it in private equity. And the third nature of work that happens in investment banking is IPOs. So if you see M&A, what the reason why people do, is first to look at growth. Do you want to do something different? In the prior example, as you can see, Flipkart was already into apparel, mobile phones, and many other things, but he acquired Mintra to get into a niche domain, which is fashion retail. If you see PhonePe, this is an area where a payments investment happened, and eventually Walmart acquired Flipkart because Walmart wanted to enter the Indian market in the e-commerce side. Second area of M&A is selling the non-core. Okay, for somebody, when the activity becomes not really relevant, a group which is diversified into too many things, they may want to divest few assets. That is where they sell. Okay, so that is the other motivation. Or the third motivation could be growth. Like, why did Flipkart eventually sell? Because they saw that Walmart, if it comes in, it'll have more money power. We won't have to go down to the market every year to raise capital. There'll be one fixed guy, and we'll be able to grow business from here. Second is private equity. You need it for two reasons. One, of course, is growth capital when you want to grow your business. Second is exit. Like in the prior case, as you can see, Tiger was investing, up to 2015. But in 2017, SoftBank came in. They acquired all the stake which Tiger had. So Tiger made, had he put, X rupees, he made 5X on it when he sold the stake, right? So it is called secondary deal when you exit. And IPOs also happen for two reasons, either to raise capital for growth or for offering exit to investors. Today, a lot of IPOs happen only to provide exit to private equity investors who are sitting in the company. What is the role of a banker? What do we really do? What we do is, our life starts from Google, honestly. Let's say, if I'm doing the technology sector, which is my role currently at PwC, in the technology and digital domain, I will prepare a landscape that, hey, these are companies in edtech, these are in fintech, these are in logistics tech, these are in cybersecurity, these are in data centers. So I'll create a landscape, and then I'll try to reach out to companies, okay, be it through my relations, be it through Google, be it through LinkedIn, whatever be the nature. I will pick that up, I will go to them, then I will come up with a thought that what should you be doing. When I go to a Flipkart, possibly I will talk to them today, hey, would you like to acquire something in logistics because it's an interesting area for you. If I go to a Walmart, or let's say if I go to a Microsoft, I'll say, do you want to do some acquisition in cloud domain because that's an area of interest to you. So I'll make a pitch. In the pitch, I will share the perspective of, what my understanding of the sector is, what is a relevant idea, what should be the companies you should acquire, what should be the capital valuation that you'll get, and the raise that you should do. And finally, I'll give credentials that, hey, I have the experience and I can do it well for you. Next part, once we win the mandate, we'll prepare something called collaterals, which is where we prepare the whole business document and a financial model. So in this case, as a banker, what I need to do is understand the whole sector and the company in and out. And the person who's been running the company for, let's say, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I have to be at pace and understand what he's doing within a week, couple of weeks of time, or maybe in a couple of days. So that is where that high intellect would want to come into play, that your understanding of business. I'm not saying marks and ranks. I'm saying intellect in terms of being able to understand businesses and nuances. And eventually, everything has to converge into numbers. If you're doing a good business, it will show either in your revenues or profitability. Once we've done that, we start talking to investors. In a deal which is M&A, we'll talk to strategic investors, which is large MNCs and players. In a private equity fundraise, we'll talk to venture capital funds and PE private equity funds. Then what happens is there's a stage called term sheet, wherein basis the discussion. What happens as a banker, I have to explain the business to the investor in as much in good way, the way a founder would explain the business. So I have to really understand the business, speak, and get the investor excited. Post which he talks to the company, and then he issues something called a term sheet. Term sheet is where he give the key terms of the offer, that, hey, this is the stake I will buy, this is the valuation I'll offer, and this is the rights I want. Post that, the investor will do a due diligence, which will be looking at the books of accounts, looking at the legal documents and compliances, and figuring out whether what the company said is true or no. Once that happens, they will negotiate the value further. Post that, legal documentation work commences, and then the closure. So in my journey, what are the skills I was alluding to here is that I have to understand businesses, I have to understand financial concepts, I have to understand legal terms because I'm negotiating that also. When you go to business, as you are doing, most of you, if you're doing BBA, MBA, you would cover many facets, which is, operations, HR, marketing, supply chain, IT, finance, accounting, strategy, planning. So all these subjects get covered because this is what all you apply to understand the business. In simple nuance, what is the input, what is the process, and what is the output. So that is where, our MBA or a B school study becomes relevant. Of course, other courses and other domains are also good, but that's why a preference for MBAs would be because they understand each facet of business and they're able to apply mind and grasp any sector, any company in and out. uh, for us, I say that the nature of revenue is binary because we put in a lot of effort. Each deal takes more than a year, and our fees come in only if the deal happens. So the reward could be either high or no reward. In most of the other cases, there would be due diligence agencies, there would be legal agencies, there would be other agencies who come into play. Everybody makes money in the journey, but a banker is a pandit who stays from start to end, and he gets payment only if the deal happens, otherwise nothing. And in the track record for us, 1 in 5 deal typically happens. So the efforts are very high. This industry requires 12 to 14 hours of work every day, and work-life balance. You have to really figure out how you'll do it. But this is the expectation of the industry. In terms of valuation, you would have studied, there are a lot of approaches. One is the DCF, which I'm sure all of you are studying. Then there are multiples where you look at transactions and trading. And now new concepts are emerging. For example, Flipkart never had any profitability and revenues were very small, then how would you really value the company? DCF would be all, their profitability and revenues will make sense only after 5 to 10 years, not now. So then there are concepts like, EV to GMV. GMV means gross merchandise value. Whatever Flipkart sells on the platform, you see, let's say ₹1,000 toy or ₹1,000 shirt or a 5,000, 10,000 rupee mobile. But what Flipkart makes is just 1, 2, 3, 5% of it, right? So what they sell, the transaction value is called GMV, and the new metric which has come into place, valuation based on GMV. So every industry will have something specific, and new concepts are emerging as we grow. Okay, and DCF and comparable are still the old and the most strongest one. But these nuances also one has to pick up and be updated as we grow in the journey. The types of banks, just to cover, there are bulge bracket banks, which would be these big brands like Goldman Sachs and Citibank. We had our previous speaker from Bank of America. So these are the big brands in the world. They will do massive big deals, and their fee thresholds, their expectations will be very high. Second layer is Big Four, where I operate, where EY, PwC, Deloitte, KPMG operate. Then the third layer is banks. All the domestic banks in the country have an arm for investment banking. And why it is relevant is that they have a relation with the client. They are offering a lot of financial products and solutions. Can they offer one more solution? And last is boutiques. Boutiques is where, these are companies which are born and doing only investment bank. So possibly somebody from a Goldman Sachs or a PwC would have come out and set up his own practice once he has developed his own credentials. And some of them are 1 or 2 man shows, and some grow bigger in size. And the fifth bucket would possibly be the KPOs. And most of us initially in our journey may get jobs with KPOs, and then we graduate to these places. What a KPO does is supports all these layers which are presented here. Because these are front end, they're dealing with the clients and doing deals. But all these MNCs have realized that India has a great potential of brain power and also, of course, cost arbitrage. So they will have their KPO units in India where you can join and do real action, and then eventually somebody from the front end will hire you as you go in the journey if you are good and if you prove yourself. Of course, with these brands, either you come to Indian companies, or these guys, if they find you sharp, they will take you abroad to their global offices. Stages in the life of a banker. We start typically with an analyst role. As we grow, within 2 to 3 years, you become an associate. As you grow further, you become a vice president or a associate director, then you become a director, and then you become an MD. And the interesting world, our industry is where there's a lot of media hype, because it's high decibel. Anything which happens in M&A, Reliance acquiring something, Flipkart putting money in Reliance, all these are big news items. They come up on the fore. And there is a lot of money also in the industry, but of course it's linked to performance. So high pressure, high burnouts, and bonuses come in when deals happen well. You earn good money in the industry. The bonuses can range from 20% to 200% typically. Yeah. What skills would one require is what my next point would be. Typically, what we need to have is a very good hang on finance and numbers. So you need not be a CA or you need not be an engineer, but you need to understand finance and be good at numbers. Second is logical approach. That is what will help you understand a business or the approach to be taken. And third is communications, be it in your written communications, oral communication, everything becomes, because it's a lot about talking and understanding. The things that you need to know besides that is sectors, because most of us specialize in one or the other sector. So I am doing technology. Similarly, industries within the subsectors, what would be there? Understanding businesses, understanding the key drivers from the macroeconomic side to micro. For example, today, anything that happens in the oil price in the world, and your stocks change in value. Why? Because there is some linkage, some driver which is linked, which impacts the entire value chain, and somewhere that impacts the value of my business and eventually financials. I think this is what I had to share in a very quick nutshell. I think it's done efficiently in half an hour. What I would want to spend time is, mainly understanding or addressing questions, queries, that all of you may be having today in life, because I'm living this life. So happy to spend more time on real questions if you would want to understand anything about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Amish sir. It was really an interesting, you can say, insight about the investment banking profession. A lot of people actually, desire or aim to become investment bankers, and they don't know what is the realities of iBanking. Once, of course, it's a dream job for quite of us. And once we reach there, then only we come to know it comes up with a very hard work. And of course, the work-life balance is one of the key issues which one has to face. And that is why probably a lot of investment bankers later on turn as authors and, book writers. So this, because they earn a lot of money during their lifetime. So later on, they develop their hobbies so that they don't have to, put burden on their minds. Anyhow.
Yeah.
So let's quickly talk about the questions. So we have few questions which have been sent by our students. So I'll read them one by one. I'll just ask the relevant questions because, of course, students can ask any questions from any field. But since you are talking about iBanking, so most probably similar to that question I'll be taking. Otherwise, I have a huge list of questions, but those may not be too much relevant to you. Okay. So the
happy to address.
is,
I've also been a student, and again, instead of Indore, so happy to address any real life situations over the next, 15-20 minutes that we have.
No problem.
I mean,
so first I'll ask something which is related to iBanking, and then probably we'll ask some generalized questions. Okay.
Sure, sir. Sure.
The first question is, due to the increased fluctuations in the market, is it right to invest right now for a beginner? If we talk about
very interesting point. I will raise this point. I wanted to start it, but I thought I'll pick it for list. And good question. My industry, it's called investment and banking. It has nothing to do with investment. It has nothing to do with banking in the first place. Okay. I am doing mergers and acquisitions. I'm not putting my own money at all. I'm just an advisor. So your question about investment may be pertinent from a person who's doing equity research or investments. Okay. So just to clarify that I am in this, how do you say? I mean, how do I put it? It's a misnomer. I don't do investments. I don't do banking at all. But having said that, still to address your question, gentlemen, whoever has asked this question about investment, yes, always you should try doing something or the other in your own way. And I'll tell you how I'll correlate this point to investment banking. Okay, since that's my area of domain. If you start doing investments, you will certainly look at your stock. One page to do punting. किसी ने कुछ बोला चलो डाल दिया पैसा हो गया कि यार news मिल गया, rumor मिल गया. But the real essence is your ability to understand that particular business and what are the macro factors. And if you see, the best of the best professionals are the ones who have a pulse on the market, because the guy who's actively investing really knows कि क्या चल रहा है, because your money is at stake. So your eyes will be open, your ears will be open, and you see that anything impacting anywhere, drought, flood, corona, oil prices, anything that has to do, you'll immediately think, यार ये मेरे business को कैसे impact करेगा, मेरी investment बढ़ेगा क्या घटेगा. Okay, so these are good things, and that helps you get understanding of businesses also better. And in an investment banking domain, it's all about understanding business and the sentiment of what is right timing, what is right action. So yes, investment you should do to the limit that is available to you. Always try to see that little bit of your pocket money or your stipend or your earnings go into that domain, and you're actively covering the market, not punting. Okay, I would say, but taking logical views, possibly reading books which help you develop your own thesis of how to evaluate a stock, and then other things which are, generously Symbiosis will teach you how to study a business. So that much learning you'll get from here, I'm sure. But about investing, you can read up, more books in the market and, start doing trades. Today, a lot of tech platforms are available. You can start with dummy and then eventually go to real money. Yeah. So that's the quick answer, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Okay. The next question would be, what are the potential impact of COVID-19 on goodwill and valuations in general?
Excellent. On first was what? Second was valuation. First one, what did you say?
First one, goodwill of the companies.
Goodwill. Perfect. Excellent point. I think good, sir. I didn't cover it specifically in my presentation because I knew a question would come here, and thanks for asking that question. Yeah. So this COVID has impacted some things in a very different way. Some things have gone really down because, let's say, if you look at manufacturing sector, there is hardly available of manpower in the first place, right? So that is the challenge. Second, China got impacted. A lot of countries started having anti-China views. So imports from China got stopped. So I'll tell you simple impact on metal sector. Okay. Now people are buying steel from China. India's steel was 30% cheaper than China. But people are still buying from China because bulk volumes, massive scale and discount, everything. Now people said, hey, we can't go to China. So let's look at India. So they're buying from India. Now, because of that, what happens? The guy who's making a two-wheeler Bajaj or Honda in India, he's not getting steel, which he wanted. Okay. Now he has to pay that price, which is 30% higher. So price which was, let's say 40 rupees steel is now at 80 rupees in a year's time. So you look at the impact. So the guy who's selling steel is making amazing amount of money. He's selling at double MRP, correct? But the guy who's importing it as a raw material, Bajaj cannot say, "Kabhi mera bike ka, 10,000 rupees extra, I will charge you, or 20,000 extra," because there will be no buyers. People are not having that kind of income. So on the other hand, this guy gets impacted, right? Of course, you'll have to do your study analysis. I'm just taking simple examples, but when you see, there will be situations which have been impacted. Some of the flip side story is about these new age domains, fintech, edtech, online media consumption, online gaming. People had time. A, people didn't have any option, can't go out. Okay, so what will they do? All they start coming in. Look at the edtech companies today. Everything from Baiju to any other company, Vedantu, you are seeing TV ads, all of them. They are raising 100 to 200 million dollars every 2-3 months. Nobody is profitable, but people are loving it because what they would have had to push, for years. How did Flipkart and Amazon start? They started with massive discounts so that they will create a culture or a habit कि चलो use करना शुरू करो. What did Uber and Ola do initially? Discounts, discount. Your taxi fare, at least in Bombay we have taxis. Indore में इतना नहीं है. But if you do a taxi for $100, Ola would be available for 50. Then you'll say, अच्छा AC गाड़ी में जाने मिल रहा है, क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है? They were creating a culture or an habit. But COVID naturally gave them that impetus because you didn't have a choice. So you had to go online to study. You had to go online to consume your entertainment. That's why the Netflixes and Amazon Primes. But on the flip side, multiplexes are dying. Okay, they have to pay these rentals. Of course, valuations have gone up. That's a separate story. I will not touch there why the stocks are going up. But intuitively, this is what the whole play is, and these are some of the impacts of COVID. From our perspective, also, my work involves a lot of meeting and talking to people day in day out. My work will involve flying out at least once or twice a week, every week, so that for that just one meeting for those 2-3 hours, I'll be taking 10 hours of travel. But today, somewhere in COVID, I can do one meeting at 10 o'clock in Bangalore, the other meeting at 1 o'clock in Delhi, the third one at Vishakhapatnam at 4 p.m. So today that has helped me talk to a lot of companies and do a lot of work where I'm not doing the travel. In fact, I'm working more now and delivering more because I don't have to invest time in travel and getting things organized. Virtually everything can happen in an FE, and people are very happy talking and negotiating and discussing. Live negotiations of deals are happening online. This was unheard of, but people are adopting. So these are the 2-3 things I wanted to highlight, sir, from a COVID perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, very nicely explained, sir. Okay, one question interesting question has come up. Recently you talked about that equity research is not your domain and probably you are more interested in iBanking. So one of the student has asked question, do we need to have equity research background in order to be investment banker, or it is highly immaterial whether you have some knowledge about equity research or not, but you can do iBanking?
So I've shared some of the skills which are required for investment banking, right? Understanding businesses, logical approach, communication, numbers, accounts. So if you prove yourself in these domains, people will like to hire you. So investment banking, coming from equity research, there have been some success cases. There are some peers in the industry who have initially done equity research and then come here, but it's not a immediate yes or no. Okay. The best way for you to enter investment banking, especially let's say when we are at Symbiosis, possibly let's say a PwC may not come to hire, for example. Let's be honest, right? For investment banking at this stage, maybe 2-3 years down the line, they will see more talent, they will come in. But right now, what we should focus on is getting into some of the domestic banks, which I'm sure will be coming to your campus, or some of the KPOs. These are two avenues that can bring a lot of opportunity for us. The third is boutiques. There are some big boutiques, there are some mid-tier boutiques. Once you get into the market, I'll tell you the risk and positive about our industry. Right now, the industry is going in such a positive domain. Both my juniors have got jobs in PE funds, okay, with just 1 year of experience, because the market is very hot. So any experience. So now I'm hiring, and I can't get talent from big places. So I'm going to boutiques to hire. Okay, so in a good market, you start your journey through a KPO or a boutique, and you'll get a job in some better place. Okay, I'm hiring one person from a KPO and one person from a boutique right now. Yeah, so that is the opportunity. So everybody is getting one step up because the guy who was working with me has gone to a big PE fund now. So I have to fill the void somewhere, right? In a bad market, it may be risk because see our projects, if the market economy is down and projects are not happening, our fees is all contingent. So firings also happen massively. So there's an element of risk, okay? But if you can get in early and start your journey with either domestic banks, boutiques or KPOs, would be the best for us to start now. when I was with McKinsey in the KPO before my MBA, there were a lot of colleagues from Symbiosis who had joined, and they're all in very good places today. After 5-6 years with McKinsey, they're all heads, VPs, directors in some other corporate somewhere. Okay, or within McKinsey also they are doing very well. So we have a right platform. I think Symbiosis is a great brand to work with, and this could be right access that you can get. So equity research could be a good thing, but then other options are also available to get into investment banking. Yeah.
Okay, so one more interesting question has come up. If an investor back out at the time of listing of an IPO, how will it affect the IPO price?
So see, ultimately in an IPO, you have to determine, SEBI warrants that these are the limits of retail investor, HNI investor, qualified investor, okay, whoever are the limits. If you're not able to meet the limits, okay, of, let's say, आपने 100 share place करने हैं in the market, and if you are able to get only 95 or 90, then your IPO will not go through at all. So if somebody is backing out, you'll have to quickly find out somebody else. Otherwise, your IPO will fail because you just have a 3 to 4 day window to get your investors. That is where people use multiple bankers. In an IPO, typically you'll see not only one bank, 2 or 3 banks will be involved from an IPO perspective, and they will have relations with a lot of funds. And today, again, in an IPO, again, the cyclicality works. Today, the market is very hot. So people are finding, if you are going to place 100 shares, you're getting 10,000 applications, 100 times subscription. In a bad market, you may not get 50, 60 also. So it's a lot about timing of the market also, which matters. And of course, the domain and the expertise of the company, where they are and how growth can be visible, and what bankers are doing to make an interesting, story of attracting investors. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and once again, one more interesting statement has come. A student has asked that, sir, is this statement true? Now I'll read out the statement.
Yes, sir.
Many bankers don't buy or sell company stocks, but just helps companies invest resources in full companies.
Excellent question. Yeah, excellent question. So what happens is, see, I am the advisor. Okay, just to clarify the thing, I am the advisor. So PwC is not putting its own money in any which way, and not even resources. What happens is, let's take this simple example of Flipkart and Walmart. Okay, Walmart wanted to enter into India. They wanted to do something really big. Either they could have done something offline or something online. In offline today, we are seeing that Metro is there, Big Bazaar is there, Reliance Jio is there, uh, Birla Group came up with more, right? So there are a lot of these things, and of course we have, the Damanis also having their own brand, which is a big one, correct? So a lot of DMart. So a lot of these businesses are there. So either he could have come and set up something on his own, or he could have had the choice of, as they call it, make versus buy. So the traditional market would have taken him a lot of time had he even acquired, because you have to open in stores, operate in that scale, have a lot of overheads. Online gives you a faster access, and globally Walmart is head on competing with Amazon in a lot of markets, because Amazon has taken their share from they also sell at a cheaper price. Amazon also at a cheaper price. And why they sell cheap? Because they buy directly from the source. There's not the whole value chain of distributor and wholesaler that comes into play. So the layer is cut, so then they can offer a better margin, or a better price to the customer. That is what the magic is. So the work which, let's say, if I were to do, and we helped in the deal where Facebook put money in Geo. So maybe I can take that other example. What was our role? We were helping Facebook in evaluating the investment in Geo. Now we had to understand the business of Geo and the whole India market. So the macro story is that India consumption is increasing, digital consumption is increasing in any form and format. Be it digital entertainment content, which is on the Geo. Second is the telephony and content. Third is the payments through Geo payments, which is happening. Fourth is education, which Geo is doing, right? And fifth is transactions, which Geo is doing through the Geo Mart and stuff. So what would Flipkart benefit from it? Flipkart would get access to a huge user base, because Geo users are equal to Facebook users in the world almost. Okay, so he says that, hey, I get access to huge amount of people who I can reach out for my services, and this is an audience which I can use for advertising, because the main revenue for Facebook is advertising. Second, Facebook is also getting into other domains of content and media and education. So they will feel that, hey, I'm able to get access to all these opportunities. So what would a PwC do? PwC would evaluate the business of Geo, the current strength of the business, the growth potential, and then advise Flipkart that, hey, yes, should you invest or no? And if yes, at what value, and what should be the stake and the rights that you should get. So this is the work I would do. So from a resources perspective, my work is all pre-deal, nothing to do with post the deal. Okay, as a banker, and not a single rupee that I would be investing in this part of the business. Yeah, just to clarify the role.
Great.
Hope that addresses. If there's something more, I'm happy to address Navdeep sir.
Of course, if something will come, we'll get back to you. Otherwise, it's okay. Okay, now another interesting question has come. Sir, is it easy to value listed companies or is it easy to value unlisted companies?
Very interesting question. Very interesting. So, in listed company, what happens is, let's say in Indore market, if you want to buy a house in Rao area, or if you want to buy something near Sarafa, okay, what will be the best way? What will you do? How will you figure out कि क्या price देना चाहिए? मान लीजिए अगर 500 square feet का घर है, तो how will you figure out what will be the best way that you will do? And sir, you can address on the behalf of the students also this question. Like if you were to buy in Rao or if you were to buy in Sarafa area, what would you do to figure out the
I'll
best
try
price
to
that you
find
have to
out
pay?
what is the market price of those areas, and then probably we'll see at what options we are getting a different type of, you can say alternatives.
Excellent, excellent, bang on. And let's say if you want to buy a house near Treasure Island, okay, तो certainly feel कि राव में तो भाव कम होना चाहिए तो गांव में है.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Comparative
Sarafa is
valuation.
better, बहुत market है तो थोड़ा सा better, and Treasure Island तो even premium, correct? So you got a benchmark somewhere, right? But looking at the market, so a listed company, what happens is there are benchmarks available. Since you are listed, you can look at others. Like if a hero wants to see valuation, he'll see what is happening to Bajaj, what is happening to global players like Honda. So there are benchmarks which are available in a listed place. So it's not really easy, but there are benchmarks available. Okay, but the fundamental will always stay the same for both listed and unlisted. We have to really understand the business and understand the growth. That is why what people in equity research will do, they will look at the annual reports, they look at research reports and see कि यार टू व्हीलर का डिमांड बढ़ेगा कि इलेक्ट्रिक टू व्हीलर का बढ़ेगा आगे चल के. What is the market? Where is the future? Is there infrastructure for charging for two wheelers, for electrics, or no? Can they do long distance? Can they do faster speeds, which a Bajaj or a Honda bike does today? So that is where you have to understand the business, have a view on the future trends, and then see who's doing a better job, and accordingly, invest in that stock, which will give you more returns. Correct? The only help in a listed that happens is that you get a benchmark. Okay, कि यार चलो बजाज को तो मार्केट ये पड़ रहा है. My business if it is similar, if I'm buying a house in Rao, then I'll look at के Rao में और क्या available है. अगर वहाँ पे 10,000 का रेट चल रहा है तो मुझे भी 10,000 तो minimum pay करना पड़ेगा. Okay, so that is a difference I would put in a very layman way to figure out valuation, sir.
I must say it was really very well answered. Okay, now we are over with the, you can say that something relating to, valuation or mergers and acquisition. Now, if you allow, we can have some generic kind of questions. I mean,
Yeah, one or two questions we can have, sir. Yeah.
So one question is, what affects the health of a stock portfolio?
Correct. So stock portfolio, again, I think you will have to look at first, the macro factors. In your portfolio, you would be possibly diversified. Something would be in banking, something would be in auto, something would be in financial services, something would be in, let's say, metals and, media, education, whatever domains. So first, certainly it's your view on what is macro. A thing like COVID, for example, should have hit everything down, but still stocks went up. What was the reason? Possibly you have to think through, because people, those who could invest, had the capital and had the time. So the market saw highest number of registrations. Brokers saw highest number of demat accounts being opened in the COVID period because people had time. What they could do? They started putting money, and that is what it was completely contrary. With a problem like this, the market should have gone down. In fact, they shot up the best. Last year was one of the best returns, just because equity capital was available and funding came into the market. There was a lot of liquidity, a lot of activity of buying and selling, which led to the movement of upwards domain. Even globally, people were finding India as an attractive market, because India GDP will still grow on a higher digit, whereas global GDPs worldwide are growing at 1%, 2%, maybe -% in some economies. So India is that way is attractive. China was going down, so again India becomes one more factor. So global money and Indian money started pumping in, and the markets went up. So to the contrary of the overall rationale of fundamentals, this was the view. So that is where, from a portfolio perspective, again, first you have to look at macro views and then get to the specific views of the sector. As we took the example, like a multiplex will go down, but an Amazon Prime or Netflix will go up, right? Yeah.
Great. Okay. Okay. I don't think so that is relevant. I'm just going through the question.
Sure,
There should be some
sure,
relevance if we ask
sure,
questions to you.
sure,
Of course, one of the general queries, one more important question has come, but you have already answered. One of our students wanted to know why equity markets are at all-time highs when the pandemic has affected the economies to such a large extent. So, of course, you answered that probably liquidity, is one of the driving force. So, I hope you have already understood. Until and unless you want to say something else apart
No,
from
no,
that.
fair. Absolutely. I mean, liquidity, India attractiveness, future growth potential. Yeah, all these are there.
Okay. Okay. Of course, I don't know whether it is too much relevant to you or not, but still, with companies required to disclose all material facts and specific risk factors associated with their projects while making public issues, can we expect a much more accurate financial analysis in upcoming market situations?
Yeah, I mean, day by day disclosure norms are increasing. SEBI and ICAI are working towards, figuring out what is better and better. So a lot of compliances have come into play. And of course, but you should study global markets in India both, because what happens is sometimes innovations happen. Sometimes people find out ways and means to figure out, how do I report? I mean, the accounting will, like EBITDA, for example. EBITDA is one of the best metrics of figuring out the profitability of a company, earning before interest, depreciation, taxes, amortization, right? So that is one of the best metrics. But when you look at accounts, there's no concept called EBITDA, so you have to derive it. So what people will do in their analyst reports, investor presentations, they will come up with EBITDA and adjusted EBITDA. So that's where you'll have to apply your mind, because when they say adjusted EBITDA, they are saying that, hey, this was one off, this should not be, as per accounting this is a cost, but as per my investment and my growth, this should not be it. So you have to apply your lens, read it properly, and figure out and take a judgment view. Okay, is he trying to fudge or cover something, or is he trying to give us genuine disclosure? Okay, and accordingly take a view on whether this company is right or wrong. Okay, or the accounting is right or wrong, or the business fundamentally is right or wrong. Yeah. So that is what my guidance would be to, and that's where knowledge of numbers and finance comes into play. You have to know what's the stuff happening. Is he covering it right or wrong? And hence, any student who is here, with whatever background, learning or knowing accounts at the fundamental is essential. Yeah.
So basically, what you're focusing is one should not only learn, but one should understand the basics behind that, and then put those basics and use your own rationale, and then probably analyze the situation. That will help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So another question which is coming from a lot of the students, what are the essential qualities to become investment bankers? Of course, you have already discussed those things in the PPT. So I'll just advise them to maybe look at the recorded version, and then they'll be able to get it. Still, if
I
you
just
want to
take
add
2 more
something
minutes. I'll just take 2 more minutes and say,
yeah.
the most basic is that your own confidence, that you can analyze and you can understand. That is the first and foremost. Okay, because all your understanding of business, as I said, eventually translate into numbers. If somebody says, hey, I'm a great brand, I'm amazing, then boss, your sale has to be there. No, if you're great, then aapka dhanda bada hoga. But if you say there's a lot of competition, so then if people are preferring you, if you're a great brand, then your profit will be higher, because you'll be able to charge $5 extra than the other guy. Correct? So this has to reflect. So that is where your understanding of business really comes into play, and understanding of business through numbers, right? And before that, the macro understanding. For example, a cliched example I'll take. If somebody says कि यार typewriter company में invest करो, vis-a-vis कोई बोलेगा कि digital handle gadgets में करो. It's intuitive, right? कि typewriter is over. It's all about digital handles right now. So that is where, I mean, that's a cliched example, but that's what my point of view is, that think through, keep reading, have your eyes and ears open, keep reading newspapers, or I mean, now everything is virtually available. So keep consuming content. There are a lot of free forums that are available today. Please keep consuming, be abreast. That will help you think through and also have a conversation. Because the other skill that we need, whenever we start a meeting, first few minutes, we're not talking business. We're just talking general. क्या चल रहा है, क्या चल रहा है? That's the approach. That Indian style really works. कि sir कैसे हो, क्या कर रहे हो? Okay. Then you'll talk about, maybe Corona, maybe cricket, maybe politics, maybe football, maybe what is happening globally, what is happening to Trump. There could be so many things that you're just discussing, and you are striking a chord. You're creating a wavelength with the person which is across the table. Because when you do investment banking, he's helping you or giving you his baby. कि यार ये मेरा कंपनी है, इसको मुझे बड़ा करना है, उसके लिए कुछ करना है. So he's handing over his baby to you. So first you have to develop that trust by your communication. Second is your intellect and your knowledge, because if he sees कि यार इसको नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, then why should I hand over my baby to this person? Correct? So these are two main things that I would want to add to the point to besides whatever I had shared earlier.
Really nice, I must say. And one more query has come. Whether your changes in the IT are actually making any difference to the iBanking business?
Absolutely.
I don't think
Absolutely.
directly. Yeah.
From the very way of my work, I addressed it a short while back. Pehle I had to fly so much, right, to do those meetings, 10-hour travel for a 2-hour meeting. Today, IT has helped me there. Second, the sectors and the movements. Okay, a whole new market has opened for IT. Today, everybody has to go to cloud. So every company has to adopt. So what has happened on that basis is all the discussions are happening virtually, and who is enabling that? These are IT companies. That's why IT companies stocks are growing. A lot of new age companies have come into play. As I said, EdTech, online entertainment, all this has come. FinTech, you're making payments. You don't want to touch anybody. You don't want to touch a currency note. So you're using a Google Pay, Phone Pay, whatever, right? So all that is the other part of IT. ये अगर नहीं होता, आई एम थैंकिंग माई स्टार्स के 2-4 साल पहले ग्रोफर्स और जोमेटो आ गए. नहीं होता तो आज क्या होता? हाउ वुड आवर डिलीवरी वुड हैव हैपेंड? The local kirana cannot come to your home. He cannot go to 10 homes and deliver, right? But your grocer is, though they are making a loss, but they are still. So look at this. अगर ये tech नहीं होता तो आज हम लोग क्या करते? How would have we? I was just telling my mom yesterday, कि had the grocer and Big Basket and Zomato and Swiggy not come 4-5 years back, how would we have faced COVID, right? At least some of us. I'm sure not everybody has access to technology. For those who have, we feel privileged, right, today because of this, right, sir?
Yeah.
So these are the three aspects I thought of covering from a tech perspective for investment banker or anybody, because, and again, I related to investment banking. That is why Grofer and, Big Basket will be better valued, and, there'll be more transactions for me. Yeah.
So I think, sir, with your energy, we have almost utilized asked all the questions. So I must say it was a really very interesting session, very informative session. And I think students must have got a lot about this. By the way, I also take one course on business valuation with the students. So quite a few things even they could have related with your answers, what we teach them in the classrooms. So it was really an enriching session, at least from my side from my side. So I must say, thank you to you, and it was really wonderful session. And now I request our honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to thank and take the matter forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amish, and it was really we can say a motivational talk for our students, and your guidance will certainly help our students excel in their career path, and whatever endeavors they will take up. And as I'm from engineering background, I'm no to these terms, but yes, certain things are of my interest because of my engineering background. I found this to be very useful to me also, and it's quite interesting examples you have given of the Flipkart and Amazon, so which are like our daily essential shops. And we also hope to meet in person in near future. Certainly, we would like to request you once the pandemic is over and you will be really happy to see Indore again, and we will be also happy to see you in our campus again.
Yeah, you have to promise me some poha. I'll certainly come.
Yeah. So this will immensely benefit our students and faculty also. So thank you again, and we will keep interacting in various endeavors. Like we have a separate entrepreneurship cell, we have incubation center here, and I can share a fact with great pride. We are at national level 16th rank for this NISP policy, that is National Policy for Innovation and Startup.
Wow.
We secured 16th rank in that race.
Wow. Excellent,
which is very
excellent.
much in place.
Congratulations.
And we have even one multinational company on our campus guiding the students, and
Wow.
is like the thing which we are experimenting under the leadership of Dr. Swati Madam. Uh, her motivation is unparalleled, and
Sure.
because of the teamwork, hard work put in by directors, faculty here, students especially, we will be certainly successful in this endeavor of skilling, which
Yeah.
is very much essential. So I
Correct.
hope
Correct.
our students will take inspiration from your story and your guidance. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate and wish you all the best. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye.
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 We lunch.
अमिताभ दीक्षित जी है.
अभी lunch break.
हाँ लंच ब्रेक है तो
So should I?
हाँ अमिताभ जी के so 2:50 का
Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much, audience. We are done with our opening session, and now we'll have our post-lunch session at 2 p.m., where we'll have two great experts who would be talking about two different domains. One would be talking about the banking area, and another one would be talking about the insurance sector. So all of us should once again assemble here at 2 p.m. And by that time, please enjoy and take care. Thank you so much.